Mid-South. Brandon Martin in Ocala, Florida, with his DoorDash coffee. That's where it comes from, because he never misses the cold or the hot coffee. Look,
never.
Great show in store for you today. Be cool. Take a picture of the QR codes, because we're streaming live on 8 channels of Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. 8 simultaneously. Then we put reels out on Instagram, and a lot of you watch it on Facebook and YouTube and wherever you're watching. First off, share us and like us. We appreciate it more than you know. We put out content every day. Got a motto here: nobody's ever going to outwork us. The only easy day was yesterday, and we love competition. So Dana Marquez checks in from the Mid-State, Middle Tennessee State University. Longtime, the elite guy and director of equipment operations, NIL, the business side of college football and sports. John Hartwell, College Sports Solutions. And Matt Dean was going to join us, but he's up in New York with the girls basketball team from Rhodes College. Good luck to you. He'll be out today. And then Gary Harris in the second half from Tuscaloosa. So it's going to be a great day. I want to say happy birthday to my mentor in TV since I was in college, Dave Cody, having a birthday today down on Lake Martin. Love him. His older brother, Wild Bill Cody, All-American at Auburn, played in the NFL for a long time. Love him. And also hello to Casey Goodjohn, 20-year Marine out in Texas, got his ticket to the A&M Miami game, watches every day. Met him surf fishing at Orange Beach a couple of years ago. Love this guy. Let's get started. Bring in this lineup, man, and John and Dana. It is so much fun talking to people that have forgotten more than I know about the business side of college athletics. And John, let me tell you something. If you worked for Dana at Auburn, the director of equipment operations, that was like working for Saban, or as close as you could get to being in the Marine Corps without being in the Marine Corps. He worked you hard, but if you look at the people that work for Dana, they're going to be the ones changing the landscape in a positive way for college athletics. And Dana, thank you more than you know for joining us. John, longtime athletic director, again, now in the College Sports Solutions, finding coaches and all. Tell us what you're seeing right now. Did you see Coach Traylor, his rant about what's going on in college? He goes, I don't know who's going to be in the bowl game. I got 15 or 20 guys. I don't know who's going to play. He goes, but we got to fix it.
Well, yeah, I think there is some disarray around college sports. There's no doubt, right? If it's the bowl games or, NIL, the one portal window. Like coaches, never had the month of December off, right?
Yeah.
You were preparing for a bowl game, and then you were recruiting and getting everything ready. Well, this has been kind of chaotic, right? With the amount of coaching changes that have been out there this year, right? And obviously the late ones, you look at Utah changing their coach, right? Or, stepping down right late. There's just a lot of chaos. And being in a group of 5, you're really having to change your mindset on what's important. How do you navigate the Power Four? The Power Four has really, as of late, really changed the landscape, even for us, on how we retain and acquire new talent. So, yeah, to your point, I watched the Nevada coach say the other day, hey, look, we're a group of 5 that we're here to develop players just so they can make $1.4 million at a Power 4 school. So how do you do that efficiently? How do you do that in a different mindset has definitely been a challenge.
Yeah, and you start thinking about it. The rant, John, from the coach, I think it's the coach at UT San Antonio, Larry Traylor, he's right. He goes, it's sick and we got to fix it. I'm talking to 2 people who are not just experienced, but you also can offer solutions. At what point do you think people are going to say, I'm tired of floating money to these clowns that aren't producing anything and they don't even go to class?
Yeah, I think, can you hear me okay?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Yeah, great to be on with you, Dana. You had to put up with Jeremy Roberts all those years. God bless you. I had to do the same with Ken Crane and Possum Ross. So, the equipment guys, if you want to know what's going on, that's what I tell people all the time. I said, the reason why Jimmy Sexton can control people, Man, he was no. Don't forget, he started as a student equipment manager at Tennessee. If you want to know all the knowledge,
Yep.
ask the equipment folks or ask the trainers. They know it. But
Yep.
great to be on with you here, Rob. And I mentioned this last week. Here's what I think you're going to have to see evolve. Technically, and I say technically, and I use that term loosely. Right now, NIL deals cannot be incentive based. But when you have, whether it's players playing in bowl games or players playing in conference championship game, in a bowl game, or gosh forbid, if you're like, let's take Georgia, for example. If you play in a conference champion, or Alabama could be the greater example, a conference championship game, and you play in 3 CFP games, making the assumption you get to the championship, which I'm not saying Alabama is going to do, but use that assumption. That's 4 additional games beyond your regular season. So can you not structure something to pay them more there? Because obviously the institution and the league is making more money when they play a championship game, when they advance rounds of the CFP. So I think that could be part of the solution. Now, speaking in particular to Texas San Antonio, being at a group of 6 school and having just come from that world, you're going to have that revolving door all the time. I mean, again, I've used this example before. Ahmad Hardy, last year, we had him at ULM in the 24 season. Kid was not recruited at all, totally under the radar screen, had a scholarship offer to ULM and had a walk-on opportunity to Southern Miss. He comes to ULM, leads the nation in true freshman running back yardage, spurs it on to get roughly $800,000 from Missouri, and now he's a first-team All-American. It is hard to argue against those situations like that.
Dana, you tell me, I mean, you have conversations with the kids. I want you to tell the example of what NIL is, what you're doing, because I don't know if your degree's in finance or accounting or it was a double major. Talk about the offensive line group that goes to the farmers market in Murfreesboro, Tennessee on Saturdays.
Yeah, so we have the very first line in our contract says we cannot pay our athletes to pay to play, right? That's NIL, a no-no, right? So you can't incentivize contracts, things like that in regards to football play. What you can do, on the other hand, is basically instruct the student athlete what NIL is, and that's actually kind of growing your brand in our community, right? So we do a bunch of different things, and we just launched a new one for this coming year. So last year we kind of mandated that our student athletes that were on NIL contracts had to go to the farmers market here at Murfreesboro, meet the community leaders, right? And in turn, what ended up happening, we had an offensive line group meet with a manufacturer of Teen Nuts peanut butter company. They ended up negotiating a new deal for Blindside Peanut Butter, which was our offensive line's peanut butter for the year. They actually made more money selling peanut butter than I was paying them in NIL, right?
Wow. I
So
love it.
we tried another project with ticket sales, and we took our position groups and we put them in charge of selling tickets to opening day games. Um, I didn't tell them what the grand prize was, but it was going to be pretty special. Everybody kind of took it and ran with it. They thought I was going to give them $100,000. Really wasn't the case. They ended up filming a commercial for Murfreesboro Hyundai for ESPN. So they ended up selling 1,500 tickets to the game. They sold out the section that they were supposed to sell. They got to meet other people. They got to understand what their Instagram feeds can really do, the people that they can connect with. Because the things, when you look at social media, and John, you kind of know this one too, but most college athletes, no matter where they're at, do not have a social media account that's even recognizable in the state that they're playing in, right?
Yep.
So their Instagram account doesn't help me at all in Murfreesboro because they don't know anybody here, right? Or they don't. I mean, their Instagram account's based on their friends and their people that they know in their community. Well, if they don't know anybody in Murfreesboro, their NIL isn't worth a whole heck of a lot, right? So how do you grow that? How do you nurture that? And I think that's kind of what we're doing different right now. The latest one, for our guys, if you want $100,000, contract or $200,000 contract, I'm willing to do anything for that, except that now you have to go meet with the donor that's going to help you, right? So you're going to have to put a game plan together, a business plan together on just what you're going to do to help the community, what you're going to do to help MTSU and the, overall, all those things that kind of matter, right? Because when you're taking a look at a group of five, our donors are kind of basically our lifeline. So if they're not going to donate to our program, it's really hard to generate revenue on the other side, right?
Yeah.
So we've got an extremely cool buy-in from our BRAA members and our Van Wagner group, which is kind of like Learfield. So our athletes are now part of their sales groups, and they're generating revenue for our own school so they can generate income for themselves. So that
Uh,
I don't know anybody doing that right now. So it's just kind of a unique platform.
I will say this, John. I hope we have thousands of people that watch this show every day. Thank you, thank you, thank you. What I just heard needs to be multiplied all over college athletics, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the beauty of what Dana is doing there at Middle Tennessee is it's preparing these young men and young ladies for life. I mean, it is a true business skills 101 example, which is great because, as you guys know, it's less than 1% of the kids who play FBS level football who ever play one down in the NFL. Same, even a lower percentage in basketball, I believe. So it's important, and unfortunately, in a lot of the stuff flying around right now with NIL and transfer portal, the student portion of student athlete gets lost in the shuffle. But this is a great example of something that an institution is doing to prepare kids for real life beyond athletics. Because again, I think put my crystal ball in front of me 5 years down the road from now, one of the class action suits that's going to be out there against the NCAA, if the NCAA still exists, is these young people who are in that window, who they're really talented and a very good college athlete, regardless of what the sport is, but they're not good enough to play on Sundays or to play in the WNBA or NBA. Yeah. And they're going to say, gosh, I have been wronged by the system. I had a situation where all my meals, housing, medical care, strength and conditioning, academic support, tuition, all of those things were paid. And hey, I got $150,000 a year to play the sport that I love. But now I've got to join the real world because I couldn't make it as a professional athlete. I have been wronged by the system. I'm telling you, that is coming down the pipe. But what Dana and them are doing at Middle Tennessee, many kudos to that. And yes, absolutely, more people need to do that.
Yeah. Dana, before you came to the SEC, to Auburn specifically in 2005, you had another life. You were raised in Littleton, Colorado, where Brendan grew up. But you worked at Cal Berkeley.
Yeah.
Did you know Marshawn Lynch, don't you?
Yes, sir. Sure
What's he really like?
Well, as an adult, as a college athlete are two different people, but he was a special talent, to say the least, right?
Yes.
But he was a nicer person for that a lot of people don't realize, right? Like he did everything right. Like he said thank you. He opened doors for people. He did everything right. He helped his teammates get better. So it wasn't a shock to see what he did in the NFL. It's not a shock to see what he's doing outside the NFL, right?
Yeah.
When you saw him take care of Oakland during Thanksgiving, he went back home, bought the turkeys for everybody, and do all those things. That's truly Marshawn Lynch. As a pure athlete, the guy was a freak. So his balance, his agility, his control, it was top notch. So great guy. I have nothing bad to say about him.
You were funny one time, John. I was down there February 10th of 2017 talking to Dana down below in the dome, and you were saying sometimes Brett Favre might be coming through Auburn and he's at the front desk, or Cam Newton, guys like that. I think your background, the NFL and college, when we look at Cal Berkeley being in the ACC now, there's a lot of smart people that went to school there. There's a lot of money in the Bay Area. Are they serious? Do they want to win, or how do they look at college athletics? And the same thing goes for Stanford. And this ties into, they're in the ACC now. If they decide to get serious, they could be like what Vanderbilt's doing because they're getting serious.
Yeah, there's two things, right? I heard the other day that the Cal, Berkeley, Stanford, and those guys may actually jump back into Pac-12, which I think would be very beneficial. But we'll see what happens there. But I think every program wants to win, right? How you build that culture,
Well,
I think it all matters. Even for us, right? One of the biggest things I said in my very first day at MTSU, when we did an interview, they, Dana, what do you have to change here? And I said, well, we got to build a culture of winning. And what does that look like? And so if that means your standard is getting up every morning, throwing the trash, whatever you see outside the building, picking up the trash inside the building, vacuuming the floor, doing all those things. Doesn't matter what position you hold. If it's a head coach, that's why I love Coach Mason. Like, you can find that guy vacuuming up our football field, which is kind of crazy. But there's a standard, and he wants to bring that. I think Cal Berkeley wants to bring that, not just academically, definitely on the football field, baseball field, so on and so forth. So I don't think anybody gets into this business not wanting to win a championship. I was lucky enough when I was at Cal Berkeley, we were ranked number 3 in the country. We did win the Pac-12 championship. When I was there, we were the only team that won the Pac-12 and never got to play in the Rose Bowl. So that was kind of a snuff at that point in time in
how'd
that
that
year.
happen?
But yeah, I think everybody that gets into the sport, if you're not wanting to win a championship, there's something wrong with that.
John Hartwell, when I went to high school, Christian Brothers High School in Memphis, if you walked by a piece of trash and you didn't, we got you now. You there? Okay. If you walked by a piece of trash and didn't pick it up and one of the brothers saw you, you had to clean up the entire parking lot after school. So that's probably where my OCD comes from. We lost Dana.
Dana's back here yet.
Okay, Dana. Dana, we got you back here. But I had to do that.
I don't know where you lost me. So
Dana,
sorry.
I had to do the same thing in high school.
We heard everything you said just at the very end when you said, "Can you hear us?" And then you just
we kind of lost you for a second. But I think that is neat about the culture. John, you understand culture as well. And I think the average person watching now thinks every player is getting 7-figure contracts, all this money and all. And then I had a guy in a collective tell me last year, we actually had one of our student athletes, and I use that term loosely, say to me, why do I have to pay taxes on this money? I've already spent it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of people don't understand. Obviously, the genie is out of the bottle in terms of NIL, and I think it's a good thing because certainly there's a lot of money being generated in college athletics. But for every kid that's getting $100,000 to $1 million, you have a lot of kids who participate in intercollegiate athletics who aren't getting a dime, who are doing it for the love of the game. You still have a lot of walk-ons. You consider the Olympic sports, and that's one of the things that hopefully whatever gets approved, and it looks like the SCORE Act, or there continues to be political struggles in what gets passed from a congressional standpoint. But something's got to get passed, because I do fear that as we're feeding the beast of college football and men's and women's basketball in some ways, those that are paying the price, if you will, for these are some Olympic sport athletes, whether it's tennis or track and field. Yeah. You look at a lot of track and field programs, and I'll say this from recently departing the Sun Belt Conference. There's a lot of track and field programs where athletic directors, and they're being forced to, are cutting back the number of scholarships in track and field programs to be able to put them into, whether it's baseball, softball, whatever else it may be. And that's what I think is really important to protect.
Yeah,
You know.
I agree.
What do you
Dana,
guys think about, Dana, this private equity deal that's going on? More or less how you were just kind of carving up at Utah. They were discussing
Yep.
more of these private. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, again, that's unfortunate, right? Because I think John probably knows this better than I do, but athletic departments around the country are all broke. I mean, there's this. I think there's this stigma that everybody has is all this money, and they're just giving it away, and that's truly not the case. I think if you look at most universities around the country, they're operating in a negative. So, I think this was coming. I mean, even for us at MTSU, that's a conversation. I wouldn't say it's being had, but it's trying to figure out how do you utilize the corporate structure to help your athletic department. I don't know if private equity and John, you were an AD. I don't know how much control you want to give up of your athletic department, but I mean Utah, that's a unique. I would like to see more of what that looks like internally to see how they're doing that. But I think the corporate structure is really kind of where you're going to see this moving. Um, Last year when I got here as a consultant, I put a logo on our practice jersey, which was a no-no, right? You weren't allowed to advertise on your practice jersey. Well, I kind of took it in a matter. No one's looking at MTSU anyway, so I did it anyway. We turned it in to the NCAA. They didn't say anything about it. So then I find out that SMU did it, LSU has done it, and now the NCAA is coming up and saying, "Hey, now you're taking a look at all these advertising opportunities and corporate structures and things like that, and because these universities need additional funding, and it's not just sponsorship money that's doing that." So
Well, I think
I
that's
think
important, Dana. Right, what you just said. It's like people don't understand these players can't just suit up, go onto the field under the 50, and start doing a photo shoot with a ball in their hand and holding a product. Right. I mean,
correct.
I'm just kind of. I think people don't understand that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's definitely different. The landscape's changed from last year to this year. The salary cap has changed thanks to the Power Four, right? I don't think people realize how expensive a player is. Just to acquire them in a group of five, more or less a Power Four. Power Four saying, "Hey, we'll pay you top dollar just to come and sit on our practice squad," right? And players are saying, okay, I'll take the fast money instead of playing football. And that's a conversation I have to have daily. Do you want to play football or do you want to make money? And Rob teaches this all the time. So it's actually kind of cool and how this process works. Guys, if you really want to make money, take the money I'm giving you and I'll introduce you to different people in the financial world to help you generate more revenue. Right? These guys need to be educated. Earlier you guys said about taxes, right? Um, I think our team did a really good job of not spending the money we provided them. They did a good job of putting it aside and telling them, hey guys, here's how much money you have to put away for your taxes. I don't think it's going to be this much, but I'd rather you be over than under. I've had student athletes come to me, Dana, I don't know how to save my money. So I've introduced them to different people where now they're putting, if it's $50 or $150, it doesn't really matter. As long as they're putting that away each month, they come back to me and like, oh my God, this is how much money I raised, right? Those are the lessons I think need to be taught. And I think at the core of this, right? Being at an SEC school, there's a mountain of people, right?
Mhm.
The problem with that is all those people want to have credit or take credit for said thing, right?
Yeah.
Which means none of it gets done, right? So at a smaller school, I'm not just the equipment guy, the associate athletic director, the GM. Today I'm painting the walls at the new building. I have donor meetings this afternoon, and I got to go scrub the field. So it's understanding what all that is, and then trying to teach that athlete, hey, look, I want you to play football at a really high level. I'm willing to pay you at a top dollar that we can afford, But if you want to make more money, I can show you how to do that as an entrepreneur. I can show you how to do that as an investment guy. I can definitely introduce you to those people. I'm not telling you have to use them. You're going to have to make an educated decision on how to go about doing those things, but I can at least make those introductions.
We were like one of the cool things that my son Wilson, who from his time at Auburn, when his nephew was born, he opened an account that day and put money in there, and he puts money in there constantly. And every time I see my grandson, I give him at least a $20 bill, and my daughter puts it in a little thing, and that goes into his brokerage account. And if people would learn to do that and just take that money and live like one of the wealthiest people I knew used to tell people when he was divorced and single, he'd meet women in a bar and say, "What do you do?" They'd see his car. He goes, "I'm a rodeo clown." That was just changed the landscape right there, and you got to hide your money. And that's what you got to do. And trying to
That's
tell
the lesson here, folks. Hide your money.
Well, if you got a 19-year-old,
you're going to the bar, hide your money.
Well,
there you go.
But look, guys, I'm saying that you got a 19-year-old student athlete. You pick the school, and he's got $1 million. How upset is he after a loss if he can go home and turn on his mobile app and see $1 million in cash? That's where I think we've really changed it, John Hartwell. You're a CPA. You know these. Dana just laid it out like he's speaking before the Supreme Court of these here United States. That was brilliant.
Yeah, here's the thing, going back to Brendan's point about private equity that a lot of people don't understand. Private equity is built on the basis, venture capital, whatever you want to call it, is built on the basis of turning a profit for the people who are providing the money to invest. It's not about feel good, philanthropic opportunities. It is about the bottom line, which is totally foreign to college athletics.
Yep.
No matter the level, because what's your return in college athletics for 99.9% of the institutions is about university branding, pride, alumni engagement, all of those things, that there is not a bottom line dollar that comes back to the athletic department. But what it does for enrollment, for donations to the foundation, all of those things, for the pride, for the surrounding community and those businesses, whether it's in Auburn or Tuscaloosa or Baton Rouge or wherever it may be, all of those are the result of investment in and success in athletic departments. It's not about, come June 30th at the end of the fiscal year for Middle Tennessee State University, that, gosh, we've got $8 million more in revenue than we have in expenses, because that's not happening anywhere. I mean, that may happen at 8 or 10 schools in the country, but that's not happening at the vast majority. In fact, in most cases, you've got a built-in subsidy from the university, whether it's student fees or helping with indirect costs, anything like that. And oftentimes you end in a, quote, deficit position that the university has to help you more. But you know what? There is a value to that back to the university and back to the community that is a foreign concept to venture capital or private equity.
Yeah. Dana, before you go, you remember the movie Back to School with Rodney Dangerfield? And he was in the business class, and he had that very erudite, snooty professor about how things are done. He goes, "Well, maybe in your world, but if you want a construction loan in New York, you got to pay off and grease the mob. You got to deal with the Teamsters. And I can assure you, these are not the Boy Scouts." I mean, private equity, as Wilson said, what could possibly go wrong? And you said it, but everything.
Right. Yeah, I think, hey, John, I think the conversation you just had, I just reiterated to our entire president board, right, at MTSU, right? It's a message I've been spreading for 10 months. When the athletic department is successful, right, and your teams are doing well, it will automatically help your university. It will increase enrollment. It will increase pride in your community, all those things. To show that, if you have a disconnect, my biggest thing is showing our president, our board of directors, all those people saying, "Hey, look, I don't want your money. I want you to show me how the athletic department can help your community. And if we can do that, then you can help us generate the funds that we need to do on the other end. I think everybody in the athletic world goes out in a world of I need, I need, I need. And I've kind of flipped it where what can we do for you? Not the other way around. And I'm finding great success for the university doing it that way versus, hey, I need $1 million from you. How can you help me? Versus you have a company like the CRM Concrete. What can our student athletes or our students on campus help you do with your company?
There you go.
Yeah.
And
no
it has completely flipped the switch because people aren't expecting it. And they're like, well, everybody just wants money from us. I go, yeah, I don't get me wrong. I would love your money, but if we can't help you, there is no return on investment, right?
Yeah, there's
There
no
you go.
ROI, right?
Right.
So yeah,
There's no ROI. So I've changed it to ROR, right? Return on relationship. How can our relationship help you from a financial standpoint inside your own business? Because in turn, your business does well. Guess what you're apt to do? Give back to the people that helped you.
that's a
Absolutely.
tough sell though, right, Dana? Because it's like selling marketing or branding, right? In the sense of like, hey, this is necessary. It's hard to show you, data points, but it matters, right?
It does. Like John says, I mean, the universities are broke. And yeah, we need your money, but we're also probably some like in Murfreesboro, our university, we have one of every six employed workers in Nashville or Tennessee come from our university. One of every six.
Wow.
So you can't say that the university isn't giving back to the community, right? So, but
Right.
the disconnect has been we want, or we need. And I think the message, obviously being an entrepreneur, I'm looking for that link, that missing link in communication.
Yeah.
And I think for MTSU anyway, we're trying to build that link and close that from a relationship standpoint.
Dana, look, this is awesome stuff, and we got to get you back on because you're making everybody understand. I just gave your number, and John, I gave you Dana's, so y'all can communicate because we get all this the synergistic effect of what y'all are doing is beyond powerful. But Dana, let people know how they can follow you, keep up with you. I know you put stuff out, but you've got helmetfitting.com, carbon. You got a lot going on.
Yeah, no. I mean, obviously, you guys can get me at dana.marquez@mtsu.edu. You can get me at dana@helmetfitting.com. You can get me at you can get me on Instagram, on
Google
Twitter.
me.
Yeah, you can just pull me up on
Hit me
Google and
up.
you can find me. So yeah, no, and it's been really nice. It's been a change from going from the SEC to obviously MTSU and but I think the community starting to buy in. I know some of our football players are starting to get what I'm getting at. Like I know I had separate meetings with these guys, seems daily now, but I think they're understanding that, hey, look, I care about you more as a person than I do as an athlete.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if I can do that, and that's John. I mean, that's the administration. That's what you grew up in, right?
Yeah.
Coaches talk about it constantly.
Yep.
As much as I want you to be successful in football, I'd rather you be successful in life.
Yeah,
So,
because that's what you're really there for.
100%,
Hey,
100%.
Rob, let me give one plug to Dana and more in particular, his league. This was something I was looking at this morning, going through some notes. Kudos to Conference USA. Last two nights, Conference USA, Jacksonville State beats Troy in the Montgomery Bowl. Last night, Delaware beats Louisiana Lafayette. So 2 straight head-to-head wins for Conference USA versus Sunbelt. Another opportunity tonight. Don't sleep on Missouri State as Missouri State takes on Arkansas State tonight as well.
Yeah, no, and I'll tell you what, it was a frustrating year for us because I think we lost 5 games in the last series of every game. And Delaware coming into the league and Missouri State coming into the league, they're good football teams, and they play good brand of football. So it was super exciting to see both those guys pull off what we night before last night, and looking forward to that tonight. So
I just love college football. I mean, I love hearing what you said about it. And again, most of these kids, 99% of them are not going to play in the NFL, and if they do, it ain't going to be very long. So you got enough money when you're 26 to retire and do nothing the rest of your life? Highly doubtful. I love it.
Right.
Dana,
Exactly.
awesome. And again, Merry Christmas. We'll talk to
Merry
you here
Christmas.
soon. All
All
right.
right. Thank
Take
you
care,
guys.
Dana.
Thanks,
Yeah.
I
Bye-bye.
love the sense this guy has. And I'm telling you, I got to know him back in 08 at Auburn. You go in there in the equipment room. I mean, he ran that thing.
Look, dude, he's from Littleton, Colorado. We're all geniuses from
Yeah.
there. It's in the water,
Well,
man.
he is.
It's in the water, bro. What do
He
you
managed
got?
he managed 34 student managers in 21 sports and all those coaches. And I mean, and wherever he goes, it's gonna happen. John, I like what in the questions that Brendan brought up too. College athletic departments, except for maybe 8 or 10 of them, they're hemorrhaging, they're bleeding, they're in debt, and you get private equity involved. Let's just I'm gonna make a case for you because I've seen these people before in my world. Here's who your president's gonna be. This is going to be your AD. This is going to be your coach, and you're going to play this guy and that guy because if Utah takes the $500 million that's on the table, watch out. That will, I mean, look at anybody that's taken on private equity, leverage. They get their hooks into you, and they want more and more and more. Ever met anybody that sold a product to Walmart? Oh, it was great until they demanded you have more and more and more, and then they buy you out for 10 cents on the dollar. That's just what's going on.
Yeah, it really is. And where it
Okay. Gary Harris is in queue, so he'll be in here with us momentarily. Had a link issue. Okay. But go ahead.
I was just gonna say, private equity is not a democracy. It's the golden rule. It's who has the gold rules. And I think that's just a careful step. I'm not saying it can't work at all, but it's not something that college athletics needs to jump into wholeheartedly.
I would just I cannot agree with you anymore, John. You're a CPA. You know the numbers of college athletics, and you start connecting them. Gary, when he comes in here, I want to get in a lot to this Oklahoma and Alabama game, but I like what you and Dana just said. Yeah, we're an SEC show, but we don't live in an echo chamber. Okay. You better get outside of your comfort zone and you better understand what's going on in college athletics. And I'll tell you something I learned yesterday with Lauren Meadows and Vince Ferrara talking about Tennessee getting their new defensive coordinator. Was it Ohio State in 24, Penn State this year. Now he's at at Tennessee. Did you know he had a number 4 ranked defense in America when he was at Oklahoma State, I believe. And that's in a conference where they score points like nobody else at that time. Watch out for Tennessee with their change at defensive coordinator. And John, let's see. Okay, go ahead and Brendan, Gary said he's sideways if he can come in here. But
hey, Rob, here's one thing a lot of people don't know. So the guy that just got hired at Tennessee, Jim Knowles.
Yes.
Jim Knowles was actually.
Well, I'm trying to fix it where it won't be sideways.
Okay. Whoops. Here we go. But go ahead, John.
Yeah, Jim Knowles was actually goes back to the SEC as far back as the early 2000s at Ole Miss when David Cutcliffe was the head coach.
Okay.
Jim Knowles was on that staff, so he's been a lot of places. Hey, I've got to plug this for Gary as we're overcoming the technical difficulties. But for those of you that know Gary, and I think most of the listeners on the show do, go on to his Facebook page because there is a posted video that I saw yesterday. Speaking of the early 2000s, I actually think this was like 2006 or 7, but video footage of Gary at the Mark Gottfried press basketball camp that is worth the view. You got to go see Gary and his mad skills, crossover dribble, and everything else.
Am I in now?
Yep.
I don't know what I keep doing to my phone that it won't let me go. I don't touch anything, so I don't know why I was sideways. But
it's like kind of moving in slow motion. But John was talking about that Facebook post of you at the Gottfried basketball camp. Sorry about the technical difficulties there. We'll get Ed McMahon to work on that.
Well, what I found out at that camp, I think it's been about 18 years ago now, was that I'm not very good. but I was better than most of those media guys. Let me tell you that right now. There are many people in the media that are athletes. The story of I found that out that day. The people that's why they cover it, because they can't play it. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's right. Gary, tomorrow night, Norman, Oklahoma, Alabama and Oklahoma. Roman Harper was on Friday talking about it. I'm with what he said. I'm picking Alabama to win this one. It's not like Alabama gave the turnovers to Oklahoma. Oklahoma forced them, but you get into where you first team to 24 wins is what everybody keeps saying. But I see Alabama. I don't see them going out there and being dead on offense. But let's get your take on it, because when Rodney was on Tuesday, he would not make his prediction because he said, can't do it till Tighter Insider TV Tuesday night at 6:30 p.m., which is an every week show.
Yeah, we both picked Alabama. I picked them 24-20. And I want to say Rodney maybe picked it 20-17, 20-13, something like that. So I guess I fall into the camp that first to 24 wins. The game in Tuscaloosa was somewhat of an odd game in that was a day where Alabama moved the football really well. They went for 406 yards total offense, and against a really good defensive football team. And it did come down to mistakes. And you give Oklahoma credit. It's like Venables said after the game, that's why we play. We attack on defense. They got 41 sacks, which is tied for the most in the country with A&M. And so they forced you into turnovers. But Alabama moved the football that day. They moved it. Ty threw for over 300 yards. They had some success running the ball as well. But 3 huge turnovers in the game, and plus kicking game issues. You had a pick 6, which is could have been a 14-point swing because Alabama was in the red zone. That was a nearly 90-yard pick 6. Ryan Williams fumbled a punt that led to a Mateer touchdown. And then Simpson had a fumble that led to a field goal. So, they got 23 points. And their 2 touchdowns, one was a pick 6, and the other was after a very short field after a Ryan Williams fumble. So turnovers and then special teams, which one you had the fumble, you gave up a long punt return in the game, and you had a field goal that got tipped. So right before the end of the half, short field goal. So if you wanted to break it down like that and say that turnovers cost Alabama the game, you're being correct. And now, again, I want to give Oklahoma credit because they forced those turnovers. But It was a game where Alabama had success moving the ball and defensively played well. They gave up 212 yards. Now, again, Oklahoma didn't have to drive the ball long distances. So I say all that to say this. I think that Alabama's excited about this rematch. I think they feel like, that they can beat this team. And, they need to beat them because I know Alabama's never lost 3 times in 13 months to anybody. And they've got a chance to do that on Friday night. Now, weather-wise, there's not going to be any precipitation. It's not going to be that cold, but it's going to be incredibly windy. At least that's what they're saying. The forecast can be over 40 miles per hour. So what that does to the kicking game and the passing game, we'll just have to see. But I think Alabama's confident going in.
Well, you think about it, John. The game was November 15th. It was down to the wire, and now they're going on the road. What's your take on it?
Here's what I think out of the 4 CFP games this weekend, Alabama has the best chance of any other road team to win this game. And I think Alabama's going to win it as well. I'd be interested to hear Gary's take. I know Alabama was banged up going into the SEC championship game. 2 weeks, hopefully some of those guys can get back and get back. Even some of the ones that played were banged up against Georgia and Atlanta 2 weeks ago. But I really think that Alabama wins this game. I also look for Ty Simpson. His presence and his calmness, I think, are going to help Alabama on the big stage in this game. The other thing, just shifting gears for just a second, Tulane and JMU are huge underdogs, and I don't think either one of them is going to win those respective games. But I do think you're going to see both Ole Miss and Oregon go a little bit vanilla if they can get up early. I mean, again, this is, this is not, yes, it's sudden death, but if you're a heavy favorite, you're not going to lay all your cards out on the table. You're going to do what you need to advance and win and get to the next game.
Yeah. Gary, I want to, here's a question from the One Stone Angel. And I'll give you my take. I heard Michigan gave DeBoer a blank check to come. Is this a distraction for Alabama? First off, why would you? And this is not. That's a step down to go from Alabama to Michigan. I mean, I know they've got, the big house and they've got this big brand, but the Michigan job is not the Alabama job. And I saw Kevin Skarbinski did a great podcast on this channel Monday, and look at the numbers, and them, Gary. But the numbers in the first 2 years, Kalen DeBoer 19-7, Nick Saban 19-8. SEC record for the first two in their first 2 years. Nick Saban or Kalen DeBoer 12-4, Nick Saban 12-4. Titles won each. SEC championship game, both were 0-1 in their first 2 years. BCS playoff won. Well, they didn't have the playoff with Saban's first year, but Iron Bowl 2-0 for DeBoer, 1-1 for Nick Saban. Now, Nick Saban handed over a much better program than what Nick Saban inherited, because in 97-07, there were 8 of those 11 years Alabama lost 5 games or more. Completely different, but I think he's a pretty damn good coach.
Yeah, I do too, and I think he's doing a good job. Again, I'm going to, based on what you said, Rob, I do want to make it clear that with the program Kalen DeBoer took over, the program that Nick Saban took over, completely different.
Completely.
I mean, and Saban was 6-2 in 2007 until that textbook deal, and they lost a bunch of players for several games and wound up 7-6, and then the next year he was 12-0. Let's be clear on that. He was 12-0 and played a great Florida team, and led that game in the fourth quarter before Tebow pulled it out. So so I mean, you can do with the numbers what you want. You can also say that if DeBoer loses on Friday night, that he will have lost 4 games 2 straight years. It's 8 losses in 2 years. So, but I do think he's a good coach. I'm with you. I mean, you wouldn't have Penn State and Michigan showing the kind of interest that they are showing if he wasn't viewed as a good coach. And I do think he's done a good job. And I agree with what you said. I think right now with where Alabama's at and where Michigan's at and what you're going to have to deal with Michigan when you go in there, he's got a better job. And that's why I've said all along, I don't think he's going anywhere. I think he's happy. I think he's, feels like they've got a chance this, first of all, you're one of 12 teams that's playing for a national championship. Yeah. Regardless of how you got here, maybe it didn't go well in the SEC championship game, but you're still playing for a national championship. So, I'm with you. I think he's in a good situation. Moving is hard. Going into a new program is difficult. So, I think he's staying. But at the same time, you're right. I think Michigan has shown interest, and if Alabama loses that game on Friday night, I think Michigan will ratchet up its interest. So we'll see what happens. But I feel like Kalen DeBoer will be the football coach at Alabama next season.
Hey, Rob, one other thing on the Michigan front. We've talked about this here before. Alignment is not just key. Alignment is necessary to have success. And you've got an interim president at Michigan. You've got an AD who there is an all-out investigation going on. And I know Ward Manuel. Ward Manuel is a good man. But whether there's guilt or guilt by association, you look at the trail of destruction that's occurred in Michigan athletics in the last few years. So it's, somebody's going to take the job. It's obviously a really good job. But in terms of walking into a situation where you have strong alignment with the president, with an AD, there are a whole lot of question marks in that job as it stands today.
Yeah. Well, here's the interesting headline in The Athletic this morning. Sharon Moore had, quote, long history of domestic violence against Michigan staffer. Pittsfield Township Police provided information in sworn testimony at a complaint authorization hearing last week. I've heard stuff that will blow your mind from people that give me good information. So why would you want to go into a house that's on fire? I mean, who wanted to row out to the Titanic for happy hour? I'm sorry. It's not. But Gary, getting back to Alabama, yeah, you're right. You're one of 5 teams. It's like, if you're a backup quarterback in the NFL, you're one of the 64 best quarterbacks in the world. That's a big damn deal. And people, look, what Nick Saban handed over to Kalen DeBoer was a dynasty, the keys to the dynasty. But Kalen DeBoer gave an honest answer about why would you take the job to follow him? He goes, why wouldn't you?
I think Kalen DeBoer, stepped into this, took this job with his eyes wide open. I think he knew exactly
Yeah.
what he was coming into. And again, I think the world that we live in, instant reactions, hot takes, social media,
Clickbait.
People want to stir something up even when there's not anything to be stirred up. I mean, I think that Kalen DeBoer is not looking for another job. I don't think that he's unhappy. I don't think any of those things are going on. And as John alluded to, alignment's important. Alabama's got great alignment. Greg Byrne hired Kalen DeBoer. That was, he did a one-man search committee. He didn't use any consultants. He hired Kalen DeBoer, and Greg Byrne and Kalen DeBoer are on the same page. And Alabama, as I've said before, has a great structure here that was in part due to what Nick Saban set up. If you're a football coach here, you've got everything that you need to be successful. There's not anything that a football coach wants that isn't available to him at Alabama. And, and I want to, even last week I said maybe Alabama's not spending as much money as some schools are in NIL, but they're spending a lot. Okay. I want to be clear on that. I don't want to give out the wrong perception that Alabama's in the poorhouse. That's not the case at all. So, yeah, I think, he came here. It's everything that he was looking for. And I don't think he's looking to leave. Now, I'll also say this. In the world that we live in today, I would never say never. I mean, like you said, Rob, if after Alabama's season is over, if Michigan comes truly with a blank check and throws out some enormous figure, like we've never seen for a college football coach, you'd have to look at it. I mean, that's just part of your duty and Jimmy Sexton's duty as an agent. So, but I think Kalen DeBoer's in a good situation here. Regardless of what some people are saying on social media, there's nobody here saying, oh my God, if Kalen DeBoer loses this game, we don't want him as the coach. There's none of that going on.
Yeah. Well, I just wish that Jimmy Sexton would have come along after Monty Hall. Let's make a deal. We could get him into TV just doing that, because he's behind the curtain, John Hartwell.
Don't you wish he would do some interviews? Don't you wish he would do some media?
Yes. I know people that know him in Memphis, and I worked upstairs where he did for 8 years at Regents Morgan Keegan. And I mean, it was just, the guy was a manager. And when Kyle Rote Jr. told me on this show who hired him, he said, Dr. Sexton, his father's a dentist, called me and said, hey, look, Jimmy's back home. He's living at home. We're ready for him to get out. He was at Tennessee, he was a student manager, and he knows a lot of the players. And Kyle Rote Jr. said on the show, I said, well, have him come by. I'll talk to him. So Kyle Rote Jr. got him into this stuff. And Kyle Rote is the most genuinely decent person you might ever meet. Started playing pro soccer when he was 16. And I reminded him, he spoke at my sports banquet when I was a 9 or 10-year-old kid. He couldn't believe I remembered it. I said, it was a great speech. He goes, what'd I talk about? I said, talked about being a winner, about hard work and dedication. But John, you've met Jimmy Sexton before, I'm sure, haven't you?
Yeah, I've dealt with him several times. I was just thinking, Rob, hey, a great prop for your show one day is if you can go talk to the folks at the Rendezvous, because Jimmy loves to go to the Rendezvous.
Yes, he does.
In Memphis to eat lunch. Maybe you can get them to open for a brunch, and we can get Jimmy there. You may have to find a sponsor who'd buy him a new velour warm-up suit, though, because he is partial to the velour warm-up suits.
Yes. Well, another thing is, who one of his sweet mates was, Gary, at Tennessee? A 6'5", 293-pound defensive lineman from Chattanooga, Tennessee, named Reggie White. That's what helped him. Reggie opened up the doors.
Well, that opens the door. Here's the interesting thing, though, based on what you just said, Rob, and kind of that the most successful agent in college football history is not a lawyer, because he doesn't have a law degree, right?
No.
Yeah, and we just assume that most of these agents are attorneys. But here's the guy, like you said, that I'm not going to say he backdoored his way in, but as you said, he was just kind of looking for something to do after college. And but yeah, you got to give him his props. I mean,
yeah, you do.
I have met him at games. In fact, I went up to him one time after an SEC championship game and asked about getting an interview, and he quickly shot that down, but said he didn't do any media. But what he's been able to do, and I say this, as a compliment, to be able to leverage these schools the way that he has, and John said he's dealt with him. And again, I don't want to get into it. I think athletic departments, based on what we look at in the real world, I don't mean in terms of how they're structured, but I just mean in terms of what they have allowed to happen to them. They're leveraged by everybody right now. They're leveraged by the coaches. They're leveraged by the players. They're leveraged by the parents. They're leveraged by the agents.
By the donors.
It's an unbelievably bad business model. And I say what I've always said. I don't think it can sustain. I do not think that the road we're going down, while everything looks rosy right now, I just don't see that this kind of money can continue to be raised every year. And I may be wrong because I don't know anything about how it works. But
I agree with you wholeheartedly. It is unsustainable. You can't keep going back to people who are throwing money into a black hole without results. They're not going to do it. They will not do it. Not at the level they're doing it at right now. Gary, I know what are you talking about today on your great show?
I got Ellis Johnson on, and we got a lot of sound. Alabama has done a lot of media this week. So I've got Womack that I haven't gotten to from a couple days ago. And then Nate Oates talked after the game last night, phone call. So I'm going to go get on it real quick. Thanks, guys.
I love Ellis, man,
Gary.
that New Jersey accent. I love Ellis. Man, I love that guy. He is so kind. He contributed to our Christmas fund again this year. He's so kind. All of you that do, you know who you are. Man, I tell you what, John, we took some stuff to someone who needs some help, and it's so much. I love to help. I absolutely love helping people out. And it is just awesome. And if we can make your day better by something we say on this show, we do it every day. John, boom, knockout, just awesome stuff today. I think college athletics, as crazy as it is, we'll work through this. A free market always does, doesn't it?
Oh yeah. It'll come out the other side, like we've talked about, with all of the dynamics, all of the challenges going on. Viewership continues to rise. Ticketing. I know it's kind of plateaued some, but look for these CFP games. I promise you, especially this weekend where you're on campus, and I do think that's something that may be looked at going forward. Do the first and second round games, do they get played on campus as opposed to the second round games being neutral site? But it's going to continue. There are challenges and it's got to be tweaked, but wouldn't trade it for the world.
All right. I'll talk to you at 2 p.m. Eastern, man. I'm going to say something about our sponsors, but great stuff as always. John Hartwell, College Sports Solutions in soon to be Fairhope, Alabama, Baldwin County, that is. All right. Hey, got to get out and get a new car, truck, or SUV, even a pre-owned one. Make it simple, people. Keep it simple. Call LandersFordMemphis.com. Ask for Brad Bellamy, the general manager. Love these people. They're great corporate partners. Their name is all over the Mid-South. Wherever you're watching, they'll deliver. If you want to get on there and say, hey, I live in, Pahokee, Florida. I live in Destin. I live in Birmingham. I want a new car, truck, or SUV. They'll help you do it. Service department's open every day of the week, except Sundays. Shout out to Sags Big and Tall for 100 years. The day means more than the dollar. Right down the street from Hewlett & Dunn Boot and Clothing Company on the historic square in Collierville, Tennessee. They're open every day of the week. Boots, Filson, Barber, great clothing for men and women. They are open every day through Christmas, including Sundays. Rumble Boxing, how you fight is how you live. Hempforpros.com. I'm telling you, you got aches, pains, you have trouble sleeping, go to hempforpros.com. Energy gummies, chill gummies, lights out gummies. Hey, most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. Thank you for watching. You're all in our prayers. Have a great day. Stay tuned to this channel. Thanks for watching. For executive producer Brendan Martin, I'm out of here till tomorrow.